Hello out there, you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear, joining me for another Gamers Thoughts discussion. And this time I'm going to be talking about Streets of Rage 4. And yes, the game has been out for a little while now, and I have played it thoroughly inside and out on Steam. And I have also started playing it on Xbox One, and it's mostly because I wanted to see if there were any differences. And there are some, but I won't get into that just yet. I'll get into the things that I know about the game as a whole, and then I'll talk about the few differences that I've noticed on playing a console version of the game versus playing the PC version of the game, the PC exclusive version versus the console version. Okay, now first of all, you start out the game with Axel, Blaze, Cherry, and Floyd. Adam is not playable until the 5th stage, which irritated me to no end completely. Like, it really irritated me personally because, like, they kind of advertised it like he was available from the start. I mean, I do like he gets introduced into the story. I'm not going to lie about that. I really do like how he gets introduced into the story. But the fact of the matter is, they kind of advertised that he would be available, and it's like, nope, now you gotta wait. You gotta wait at least 5 stages to be able to play with this character that hasn't been in the series for a while. Okay, I get over that because that's a minor grievance. It's just like that. That's a minor fault with the game, not a big deal. And as you're playing the game more and more, you unlock the other characters ranging from Streets of Rage 1 to Streets of Rage 3. The only character that's missing out of the group is literally Rue or Victi, depending on your localization, as far as what was playable. And actually, I don't know if they made Axel's super version playable in Streets of Rage 4. I don't think it is. Where you could do the cheat and have like the super special that can knock everything out when you're playing Streets of Rage 3. I don't think that's I don't think that version of Axel's in the game at all. But it doesn't really matter. Not a big deal. Either way, the combat in the game feels nice. It's smooth. It plays very well. There is the problem with speed. The game feels very slow. And they can say that the game feels as fast as the other ones. It doesn't. Streets of Rage 3 heavily outpaces it. Streets of Rage 2 still feels a bit faster than it. It's the only game in this series that it legitimately feels faster than is the first Streets of Rage. And that's not saying much. Because the first game in the series is legitimately the worst game in the series. Even though it's a good game. But if we're talking about quality, it's the worst game in the series. So that's that. I do like the combo system. It stacks real well. On Steam, your combo can continue for a while because it doesn't immediately stop your combo after you knock an opponent down. On Xbox, and I assume the other console versions, it immediately stops your combo. That's what I've learned. It doesn't do it if you're playing on Steam for some reason. I don't know why that is. I really, truly don't know why that is, because it really shouldn't. Like, the game should operate the same way, but they don't. Which that can be a little bit. That makes it a little bit more difficult to get the achievements for being able to stack the damage your combo causes on the console versions. Not that it's a bad thing, but for people who are interested in knowing, that is a difference between the two. Otherwise, the game's played for the most part identically. Axel and Floyd are the worst 2 characters in this game from the Streets of Rage 4 group. They are the worst 2 characters in this game. The best character is Adam, followed by Blaze, and then Cherry. Cherry's in the middle. And the only reason Cherry's in the middle is because Blaze has a far superior moveset. But Cherry has far more mobility than Blaze. So, it's not like Blaze is way over her. She's just kind of barely above her as far as things go. Adam has mobility, and he has a lot of power, and he has a good moveset. So, it's like... Which now it does make it understandable as to why he's not immediately available, because anyone who would have picked him from the start would have likely ran the game from start to finish playing with him, no matter what the situation was. So I get why he wasn't immediately like they knew that they had to make him better than Axel just a smidge as far as power goes, but then they gave him a mobility option that really nobody else has. He can dash forward, which allows him to cover ground quickly. Cherry can run. Everybody else has to walk. And their walking pace is very slow, especially Axel and Floyd. Now, with any of these characters, you can rack up a huge combo if you're good, if you know what you're doing. Any of these characters, you can rack up a huge combo. Hell, I've seen a video of somebody using Floyd to bounce Diva off of a wall and keep stacking the combo damage on her so that she couldn't move. Like, you could throw her into the wall, hit her, combo her, grab her, and keep her from hitting the ground, and then repeat the process. Like, it's not as easy for everybody else to do that. Like, but Cherry can keep a combo going for a while, especially since she's so quick. Her and Adam. Like, difference is Adam is slower at punching. His animations are slower than Cherry's. But like, you know how you're using the characters, you can rack up pretty good quick combos and string along a lot of damage. One thing for people to consider when you're playing, your damage is what scores you the points for the combos, not the number of hits. For anybody who doesn't know or wasn't paying attention, your damage is what boosts your combo. Like, and if you don't do a lot of damage to enemies, you're not going to get bonus points for combos. And it is very easy to lose your combo. It's very frustrating to lose your combo as well, but it's very easy to lose your combo. And like an enemy can, and the bad thing is, like, you could know the timing of a lot of things, but you can know the timing just in general, but versus the timing when you are playing, like punching the air versus hitting an opponent or an enemy, the timing is slightly different. It's off by like maybe 0.2 seconds, if that. It's not a huge difference, but like with any of the beat 'em up games out there, once your character makes a connection, it slows down their animations. It's just how it is. So enemies sometimes can find little obscure timings and tag you in the middle of you doing a combo or something, and it gets irritating. Again, that's not really new for Streets of Rage, because it happens. It's been something that happened before. You just gotta deal with it. There are some classic boss fights in the game, though I wish that they would have added in more. Like, the ones that they chose were all from Streets of Rage 2, which is fine, but that's not really indicative of the whole series. I would have thought that they would have done something like have a couple from Streets of Rage 1, and have a couple from Streets of Rage 2, and then have a couple from Streets of Rage 3. They didn't do that. I really would have loved it if they did. Like, because I get that Streets of Rage 2 is the most popular game out the franchise, but the history is all 3 games. And to that note, there are no songs from Streets of Rage 3 whatsoever for the retro soundtrack. Now, I do not know who chose the music for the stages, but oh gosh, man. When I tried to listen to the retro soundtrack, the songs are good for the most part, but they don't fit the atmosphere of the areas that they're being used on, with the exception of a couple of them. And it's like, nah, I gotta put back on the game's regular soundtrack. There's no way I can sit and listen to this while I'm playing, because it throws you off. Like, Stage 8. Stage 8, the theme that's for that is the bar theme from Streets of Rage 2. If you have the retro soundtrack on, I'm like, no, this does not fit this area. But like, the bar in Streets of Rage 2, the bar is part of the first stage, and Streets of Rage 2 had an atmosphere to it that song fit. It, like, and there are other examples I could point out, like in the sewer level, there's that song for Streets of Rage 2 that you don't normally find. Like, I don't think I've ever actually found that song in that game. I don't think I've ever found the area where that song is in that game. I'm like, and I need to go back and see if I can. But that theme is in that sewer area before you get up to the bar and biker area where you fight Barbin. And I'm like, this is not a good choice for this. So for me, playing with the retro soundtrack is a no-no. It's an appreciate. I appreciate that it's there, but that's my personal taste. Like, you guys can go ahead and play it yourself, and you determine what you would like playing. But I think honestly, most people will stick with the regular soundtrack because the themes, the music fits the atmosphere of the areas that you're in. I don't know what they were thinking when they threw together the retro soundtrack the way they did. I really, truly don't. That said, the difficulty scaling on these boss fights in this game is weird. It's so weird. First boss, decent enough. Diva is not a very hard enemy to beat once you figure out her pattern. Actually, none of the bosses are hard to beat when you know their pattern. It's typically once you get to a point where you're overwhelmed by a lot of enemies, that makes it hard. It's not necessarily the bosses themselves, like, because on higher difficulty settings, obviously you're gonna have more trouble, but it's mostly because there are more enemies around. It's not even necessarily. I take that back. The AI in this game does seem to adjust to you a bit, but it's not like it adjusts completely to you. Like, the enemies seem to get around small weaknesses in how you play, so you gotta up your game. But like, for the most part, the AI does stay the same at hardest and Mania. Mania is insane when there's a large number of enemies on the screen. Like, it's insane. Hard to hardest, though, is a huge difficulty cliff. It's a huge difficulty cliff for the difficulty settings. Hard is not much more difficult than normal, but hard to hardest is like you went from the beginner ski trail to the expert on accident. That's what it's like. Mania is like you just went down the side of a mountain, flat mountain, face down, and that's what happens if you were to play from one to the other. So I understand why Mania was not available at the start, and I was a stubborn behind and played Mania all the way through without using the assist, because I was not going to give up until I beat that game with Adam without using the assist on Mania, and I accomplished that goal. I really wish there was an achievement for that. I really wish there was an achievement for that. Like, you completed Mania with no assist. Like, that should have been an achievement, because that is difficult as all hell to do, and frustrating, because you can get so caught up in certain situations and fights, and this is like, like, I love that you guys did this with the game, but at the same time, it makes me want to smack you. And that's because I'm a glutton for punishment when it comes to beat 'em ups. But back to the point that I bounced away from, the boss fights difficulty curve is really weird. Like, you go from Diva to the Commissioner on the second stage. He is a huge jump in difficulty from her because of how his pattern works. I mean, once you figure out his pattern, he's nothing to you. But then you fight Estelle after that, and Estelle is like a cakewalk in comparison to him. And I'm like, wow. Then you'll face through a couple stages, and if you play on hardest in Mania, the level 7 boss is a complete pain in the behind, and you'll understand why if you're willing to attempt it. I'm not going to spoil that for anyone, but once you figure it out, then you'll be like, oh. Now, the people that have played it on those difficulties, like myself, are probably like, yeah, I feel you. And I started off as an idiot playing on hardest with Axel, which was the most horrible choice I made for this game. But I still liked it. Like, I still liked the run I had. It's just like, that really sucked. what else can I say about the game? The animations are great. I love the art style. I love the environments. I love the character designs. I do really wish that some of the concepts that they used, like once you unlock the extras, and I got to see some of the concepts, it's like, man, I wish I could use. I wish these enemies were in the game. Like some of them, like, damn, I wish they were in the game. And some of those backgrounds that they didn't really get to keep, I really wish that they had another opportunity to use them. So. I'm like, now, like before this game released, I was always thinking that there were 3 more characters that were supposed to be able to be played with. And the thing is, I think honestly there may have been plans for you to play with Estelle, Max, and Shiva, but they're not playable in the game. Like, at least not. Well, Shiva's not playable as the Streets of Rage 4 version of him. You do get to play as the Streets of Rage 3 version of him, and then there is the Streets of Rage 2 version of him in the game as a part of a boss fight. So he is fully represented in this game. Like, but I would love to play with the updated version of the character and see how he feels. Like, and his boss fight is an interesting one. He's nowhere near as hard as he used to be, but at the same time, I can understand, like, they didn't want to make him impossible. Like, but you would think, though, when you're playing the game, the bosses should get harder and harder. They should become more complicated to the player. And I think that's something that this game didn't do as well as its predecessors. This is Streets of Rage 1 and 2, most definitely, as you progress through the game, the boss fights felt more difficult. They felt more challenging. In this game, not so much. It's like there's a decent difficulty, then it spikes up, then it drops down, then it levels out, then it spikes up and drops down again. It's odd. And I will say the final boss fights, the last 3 boss fights, are not that difficult. They are literally the easiest boss fights in this game. If you're paying attention to what they do and their patterns aren't that difficult, their boss fights are literally the easiest ones in this game. Like, Mr. X, in all 3 of his boss fights in Streets of Rage, was more difficult than any of these. Any of those encounters. He was far more difficult. But that's me just espousing my own opinion for it. And that's not even at the hardest difficulty or mania setting. Like, just in general, how his boss fights played out, he was more difficult to deal with. And I think that's mostly because there was this, I'll say it, there's a lack of mooks to assist the 2 characters that, are the final boss. There should be some there, to be fully honest. You would think these are the final bosses, they would call in all their backup and say, yo, hey, come help us handle this. But they don't, which I don't understand why. Because, to be fully honest, they are the weakest bosses in this game. But that, again, that's my own personal opinion. But and I had no trouble with them on any difficulty setting. Either of them. I had no trouble with either of them on any difficulty setting. That's the truth. But, that's that. I'm really I'm hoping that the little inkling that I have that there's going to be DLC for this game is true, because it feels like it's a complete game, but it feels like there's something more that the team wanted to do with it and they didn't get to do it. So I'm hoping that means that they'll have like a DLC pack with like additional stories or something. I really hope they do that. Because it would be cool, and it would be taking note from Streets of Rage Remake, where you have so many mods that have so many different stories that tell different perspectives of things. Now, I do want to get to a couple gripes I have about playing with certain characters. Like Streets of Rage 1, Adam, his kick doesn't do what it does in Streets of Rage 1. Now, I can understand why you would nerf it for Streets of Rage 4 Adam. Because if he had that, he'd be too perfect of a character for this game. He'd be too perfect. He'd have barely any flaws. Which he barely has any flaws as it is. If I were to compare him character-wise, I'd say he's like what Terry is for SNK, where he's like almost the perfect balance of style. Like where his offensive style works great and his defensive style works great. That's how Adam is. He's like literally the most balanced character to play as in this game. SOR1 Adam doesn't have all of the same abilities as SOR4 Adam. So you would think that him being able to knock somebody in the air and kick him across the screen and wipe out a group of people would be the same. It's not. His kick barely even knocks him. Like, his kick doesn't even knock him away. It really just knocks him flat, which I don't get why it's that way. It's annoying. It should work how it works in Streets of Rage 1, but they didn't make it work that way. He's still just as strong as the Streets of Rage 4 counterpart, because they didn't really change how the character's attack strengths work, which works for him, because you could run the game with either version of Adam with no problem. You'll just have a little bit tougher of a time with Streets of Rage 1 Adam because of how things work. The Streets of Rage 3 characters can run. Their speed does not change. I'll take that back. I don't know if skate speed changes or not, but I played with Streets of Rage 3 Axel. His running speed was the same as his walking speed. That is nonsense. It shouldn't have been designed that way. But that's how they have it. That's something that I would think that they need to fix. If all the Streets of Rage 3 characters can run, then their run should be at least 50% additional speed versus their walking speed. That's not the case. Now, I'll have to test with Skate. I don't know for certain if Skate's walking speed is the same as his run speed, because Skate was originally the only character that could run in Streets of Rage and Streets of Rage 2 because he had the skates on. That's another character I really wish we got an update on, was Skate, because I would have loved to see Adam, Skate, and Cherry all be in there. You'd have the Hunter trio to be able to play the game with for local play. Another gripe: online play is only 1-to-1. It's only 2 people. I don't know why. You should be able to do 4-player co-op online. That would be awesome. But they only have one. They only allow 2-player co-op online. I don't get why. Because if you can do it locally, it should be easy to do it, online. It's the same setup for the most part. You're just inviting other people in, which would be great for playing the battle mode. Because if you play the battle mode online, you play with 4 other people. Actually, the battle mode online should allow you to play 8 people, to be honest, because there's enough different versions of the characters in the game to allow for it. Again, that's my own opinion. The last thing to think about, what was it? I had an idea and I lost it. There is something I did notice, and I'm like, I know people are going to say it's just coincidence because people just assume it's just coincidence. But I think that this team played Streets of Rage Remake that made this game, just based on Adam's attacks, all of Adam's attacks. I feel like they played this game because his stationary jumping attack is the same as his special attack in Streets of Rage Remake, where he does the double kick to the sides. And his forward special on the ground, same forward special Adam has in Streets of Rage Remake. And I haven't tried his air special. I've really not tried anyone's air specials outside of Axel. He was the only one I did it with. But I'm like, we know you played this game. So why didn't y'all kind of it would have been a good look to go ahead and contact Bomber Link and be like, yeah, we know you did this. We would like to go back and use some of your sprites for these characters, for the older characters, because it wouldn't have hurt. I doubt he would have said no. I really doubt he would have said no. It would have been great to have those additions to this game. But and there are already Streets of Rage 4 mods for Streets of Rage Remake, just in case anybody's interested. Apologize there, I knocked my mic down and it stopped my recording. But I think that they would have benefited doing that. And there again, Streets of Rage 4 mods for Streets of Rage Remake for people that are interested. Go ahead and check out the SOR community for that. I'm looking forward to see what they will do as a continuation of the series, and I hope that it does continue because this game is amazing. For the flaws that I do see in it, like not having everybody be able to run, not having a dodge system for everybody, that's annoying, but the game in and of itself is great. It was built very well, like it functions the way it should. Like, I find very few problems with it. I mean, yeah, you can be bounced around by enemies until all of your health is down if you deal with the characters that are throwing grenades and bombs everywhere. But you also have the opportunity to stop that because you can catch them in the middle of the air. You can pick them up and throw them. So, as long as the grenades, like if they're throwing the vials at you, you best believe you need to move out the way. And some of the enemies can hit you while you're on the ground, which that is an annoyance that the characters don't have some sort of, down invincibility. It would be nice to have that back because when you're dealing with a big group of enemies and you as the player don't really have that slight rest period for your character to be able to recover, it doesn't really allow you much opportunity to be able to, get back up and fight back as quickly as you could. Because at any point during your character's animation, you can be hit with the exception of special moves and star moves. And even special moves that isn't always accurate. Because you can be hit out of your special moves. Certain enemies can do it very easily. Not all of them. So that would be another gripe I have. But again, it's minor in comparison to how well the game works and how well it plays and how fun it is. But I don't really think I have a whole lot more to go on. Like, most of this is stuff that I know a lot of people know. Like, and again, this game is awesome. An awesome experience, and I would suggest that anybody who hasn't played it, who loves beat 'em ups, go ahead and jump on it. But that's it for me. Thank you guys very much for listening. Keep your eyes and ears out for more stuff from me, and until the next time, enjoy your games and peace out.